New videos every day. Psyche Truth. Life. Wisdom.
Hello, it's Catherine. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to work on our leg flexibility. If you were watching the trim thighs video that I also did, this is a great way to finish that workout. It's going to undo all of that tension you built up during that strength training. So today we're going to do some things that were, it's sort of a combination of things that I've learned doing ballet as well as Pilates, and I'm trying to make it accessible and doable for people, of all different levels. I think whether you're a beginner or a professional, you'll be able to get something from this workout. So we're going to start on our backs. We want to start out nice and warmed up. So grab your yoga mat and lie down. Okay, so we're going to just start on our backs, nice and easy on the floor with our palms down by our sides. And we're just going to do little bicycles in the air. We're just warming up our legs. You don't want to stretch on cold muscles. That's how injuries happen. That's how overstretching happens. So ideally, you should be doing your serious stretching after your strength training, after your cardio, when your body's already nice and warmed up. So we're just slowly moving our legs here, feeling the coordination of all of our leg muscles, connecting to our abdomen. Your abdomen should definitely be supporting your legs here. Just think of moving as though through quicksand or water. And we can reverse the direction as well. So I've been a ballet instructor, I've been a ballet dancer, I've been a Pilates instructor, and I think both disciplines have a lot to offer. But I was wondering what you guys wanted to see more of. Would you rather see more of Pilates videos or ballet videos? Just let me know, leave me a comment, and I would love to give you more of what you guys want to see. So our legs are starting to get nice and warmed up. We're just going to start bringing our legs nice and easily into our chests. We're warming up our hip joints, stretching the front of the quadriceps and the hip flexors here. If you can, see if you can keep your shoulders to the floor and try not to twist too much. Just pull that leg gently into the chest. Sometimes it helps if you exhale as you bring the leg in. It almost makes more room for the leg. And your lungs are smaller. Okay, so now our hips are warmed up. Let's warm up our hamstrings. So just put one foot on the ground. You're just going to stick that right leg up as straight as you can make it, trying to aim about perpendicular to the floor. If it's down here, that's okay. If it's up here but not straight, also okay. As long as you're getting a good stretch, just keep it up there as high as you can. Stretch that heel towards the ceiling and just feel that calf stretch out. You might feel that stretch behind the knee, maybe on the outside of the leg. And if you're ready, you can just start pointing and flexing that foot very slowly. You want to imagine it as though you're trying to hit every tiny bone and every tiny muscle in your foot and ankle as you roll through. So you might feel some cramping in the arch of your foot or maybe in your toes. It's totally normal. It's just these smaller muscles that we don't always give the proper attention to. We're just finding them right now. Always stretching the heel first as we flex our foot and then pressing through. Sometimes doing it with your hand can help. Our hands are usually more articulate because we do more with them, but it can help you get the visual of working through your whole foot. And let's try the other side. So we stretch that heel towards the ceiling. Again, just checking in to make sure you're not carrying any tension in your neck or your shoulders. Feeling that stretch up along the hamstring, the back of the knee, side of the knee. stretching through that heel and trying to keep the lower back on the ground and trying not to twist around, keeping the pelvis nice and neutral. We can start our pointing, working back through the foot toward a nice stretched heel. Again, if you need that hand visualization, that can always help. Feeling like you're really isolating every small thing in your foot. Now you might be wondering why we're spending so much time on our feet when we should be stretching our legs. But the body, every muscle in the body, nothing stands alone. Everything works together. So to have the ideal physique, everything needs to be in balance. So right now we are working our feet, but we're also stretching our calf muscles when we flex, and when we stretch our calves, that pulls on the hamstring, so we're also stretching our hamstring. So now those are nice and warmed up. Let's start with some more serious hamstring stretches. So we're going to start holding our leg as high as you can. If you can't quite reach your heel, that's totally fine. You can hold lightly under the knee here. And we're just going to bring the leg in like those backward bicycles. And we're just going to alternate each leg that way, one at a time. Now, I am going to move my hands to my calves, but you're welcome to keep them at your thighs. So we're trying to find our center. In most people, one leg is significantly more flexible than the other, so don't be surprised if this leg looks like this, and maybe you have to hold your thigh on that left leg. But what you do want to aim for is that your pelvis stays neutral and there's no twisting around. You're trying to find your legs parallel. Now we're going to work in opposition here, and what that means is when one muscle flexes, something else has to release. In this case, we're going to flex our quadriceps, those front muscles here, which will help to release and stretch the hamstrings. So we're going to use this to our advantage by resisting our own legs. So what we're going to feel, you're going to grab, again, whatever was most comfortable for you. For me, it's the calf. On a nice straight leg, you're going to push your hands away. If my hands were to move, my leg would just shoot towards the ground because I am actively pushing my hands away with my thigh. But what that does, because I'm resisting with my hands, my quadricep is contracting, my hamstring is releasing, and I'm actively stretching that hamstring. So I'm pushing, and I'm going to do this in cycles. I'm going to push for 5 seconds and release. Push and release. And you can see already that my leg is moving closer to my body. So I'm pushing. Hamstring has no choice but to relax and release. And push and release. So you can see some pretty dramatic results quite quickly. If yours aren't so dramatic at first, don't worry about it. I've been doing this a long time. It comes with time. But if you stick with it, you should see results pretty quickly, as long as you're sure to work correctly and with integrity. So let's try it on our right leg. Again, starting at a nice, easy height, holding my calf. I'm going to contract this thigh muscle, push for 5 seconds. You can see my arms working, and release. Push and release. Push and release. Push and release. Now, a lot of people like to do the pushing on an inhale where they actually hold their breath so that the release is a true release with an exhale, and can be a very relaxing sensation. So one more time, inhale, push, hold it, and release. Good. Now we can sit up and shake it out, prepare for the next stretch. Okay, so now we're going to stretch our upper thigh and our hip flexors. These are really tight in a lot of people because they get tight just from sitting in chairs, driving the car, anytime you're in this sort of crunched in position. So it's going to feel really nice to release those. So we're going to start in a lunge. So we want our front foot. We want our right ankle right under our right knee. We don't want the knee to go too far over. We want it nice and in line, perpendicular to the floor. We stretch our back foot. Think of stretching the left heel to the back, as far away behind you as you can stretch it. Now, if you do this and you find that you're twisting out, think of countering that heel motion to the back with a left hip motion forward. So as your heel goes back, think of your left hip going forward. Now, it might not be something you can see in the mirror or see on me, but the sensation, having that sensation is going to put you in the correct placement. So you might not be able to see the change in tension in my hips, but it helps my hip from opening up. So currently my mind is very active. Even though my body isn't moving, I'm thinking hip forward, heels back, stomach in, and butt down. I'm feeling a nice stretch right at the top of this left leg. Just going to hold it for a few more seconds here. And we can switch sides. Again, stacking that knee right over the left ankle, pulling that navel in towards the spine. We're shooting that right heel all the way to the back wall, but countering it by thinking of pushing our right hip forward. Some people also like to to have the mental image of pushing this bent leg, pushing that left heel into the floor. That also just keeps those hips active, keeps you from sagging, keeps you from twisting. I think that's the secret to a lot of stretching exercises, is even when something looks like it's still, it's actually very active and very fluid and maintained. So I've got a nice stretch there in my right quadriceps. And I can come back down. Now I'm going to do the other side, and you're welcome to do it just the way we did, and just get a deeper stretch second time through, or you can make it a little bit more challenging for yourself. So our front leg is still going to be the same, stacked over the ankle with our knee. Now, looking straight ahead, you can grab your back foot with your right arm. So I like to go all the way around, get a nice stretch in my shoulder as well. And if you can, find that back foot. And instead of thinking of pulling your arm, pulling your foot towards your body, think actually of pushing away your hand with the foot. So we're using that same rule of opposition that we were stretching our hamstrings. So we're pushing away. You can see it moving a little bit. And pushing, 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 releasing. Push and release. This is a nice deep stretch for the hamstring, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to move my knee a little bit farther back. And I'm pushing and releasing. If I don't think of the pushing and releasing and I'm just grabbing with my hand and yanking my foot around, I'm probably going to feel some discomfort in my knee because those muscles and those ligaments are not supported. So keeping that resistance, keeps the muscle warm, it keeps it active, and it helps prevent injury. So let's try it on the other leg. Stacking the knee over the ankle. Gonna look forward, soar that left arm all the way over. Grab our right foot and push away and release. Push away and release. Push away and release. This is definitely a deep stretch. And you can always return to that basic lunge if it starts to get too intense. Just going to stay here for a few more. All right. Well, my hips are nice and stretched in the front, so now I should stretch my hips, the back of them. This is all very good preparation if you're going to do any kind of dance, martial arts, cheerleading, if you want to get your splits. This is all great preparation for those kinds of movements. So we're now just going to stretch the glute area, the hips here. So the front of our hips are nice and limber, since we just did those lunges. We still want to press, you want to think of pressing it down to the floor, and you want to think of your knee as rotating down as well. You don't want your knee to be out facing the wall. You want to rotate it down as much as you can. And you can put your foot right by that hip here. We're really targeting the right butt muscles on your right leg. So you'll probably feel it as just hovering up here. If you can, you want to strive to press that right hip down to the floor. And that's a very deep stretch for most people, including me. But we always want to try to hold our stretches at least 15 seconds. That kind of is how long it takes for a stretch to really sink in and for things to show improvement over time. So just keep breathing. Know that the discomfort, that it will get easier as you practice. And just take comfort in knowing that you're doing something really great for your body, so be patient with yourself. And just work in kindness, be kind to yourself and patient, and the results will come. So again, with this one, as difficult as it can be, we want to try to keep our hips square. So if you find yourself rotating out, just take a moment to reset. Face forward, see if that feels like a straight line. Now I should also feel a little bit of a stretch here. Those are your deep abdominal hip flexor muscles. Now if you want, you can rotate that back leg out, but it is going to be a different stretch. And like I said before, we need to actively stretch our heel towards that back wall in order to keep our knee safe in this position. So if you want to get a taste of that, you can again use that image of hip forward, heel back, and that'll help keep your knee nice and straight, but also safe. All right, let's go to the other side and start with the knee to the floor position. So there are differing schools of thought of where your knee should be in relation to the rest of your body. Some will say that the knee should just go directly in front of the left hip. Others will say it should go through your midline, through the belly button. I think for most cases, it's whatever feels the most beneficial to you. So go ahead and think of putting that right hip towards the floor, or towards the arch of your left foot, if that helps. And just letting yourself stretch into that hip socket on your left leg. Yep. It's a very deep stretch for a lot of people, as I said. So it's very likely that when you first start, you might be up here and this is a stretch. That is totally valid. And again, if you wanted to experiment with that left foot outer rotation, stretching that hip here, you can, as long as you think heel back, right hip forward. Okay. Good, and now we're going to do some further hamstring stretches. I wanted to address some of the different things that I've seen just in fitness classes and dance classes that I don't think are always helpful. So when you stretch a hamstring muscle, a lot of people's goal is to be able to touch their toes, which is great. That's a very good, tangible goal. You can see the result, you know that you got there. It's a very good thing to strive for, but people go for it by, there's my toe, I'm gonna reach for it, and then you see things like this, or things like this, and they're not actually stretching the hamstring at all, they're actually possibly doing damage to their ligaments. So the way to properly stretch the hamstring muscle, as opposed to any ligament or non-muscular tissue in your leg, you don't want to think so much that you're reaching for your toe with your hands. You want to think that you're reaching your chest to your shin, or reaching your chest to your toe. So what that image does is ensure that you're not just caving in at the upper back or in the lower back, which will put stress on your back and those hip and leg ligaments. Make sure you have a nice straight back. Chest is forward. So we can just put our leg to our inner knee, near our inner thigh. And you don't have to grab your foot. Just put your hands out in front of you. Take a big breath, exhale, and drive your chest toward your leg. Now, if you're just starting out and you're not close at all, there's nothing to grab, you can always take an old t-shirt, wrap it around your foot, and those can be your extended arms. So that's just something to think of. If you can reach your foot, you can always pull those toes back. And again, you're reaching with your chest. You notice that my back is fairly flat. And this is a very effective stretch for my legs. As I said, we're going to hold our stretches for at least 15 seconds. And you should be able to go a little bit deeper as that time goes on. And let's do the same thing on the other side. Same principles. We're not caving in at our back. Chest is high. You can put your hands out in front of you and just head your chest toward your foot. Now I can grab my foot, so I'm going to pull those toes toward me and pull my chest towards I'm thinking of pulling towards my shin, even though it's hitting a little bit before my knee. You can pull a little bit harder as time goes on and my muscles get a little bit stretched. You might also feel a little bit of a stretch in your lower back on the right side here. Good. Now that being said, you can stretch in a different way that I'm going to show you now. That does not involve leading with the chest, but it does involve actively engaging your abdominal muscles. So instead of going chest to shin this time, we're going to we are going to grab our toes, or use your towel to grab around the arch of your foot, your towel or your t-shirt. We're just going to curl down. So we want our shoulders away from our neck. We're going to curl with the idea of putting the top of our head right above our kneecap. So you're going to really want to exhale so that your stomach can shrink down as much as possible here. Take a big breath in to prepare, and then we exhale and pull on that toe. Now this is actually borrowed from yoga, so what a yoga practitioner would say is to rotate that leg a little bit in, that sort of pigeon-toed look as you pull. And that gets a little bit more of your outer thigh engaged. So the difference here between this good stretch that we just did and that awkward toe grabbing stretch that I demonstrated at the beginning that's incorrect is that the motion should always come from the core. It shouldn't come from the shoulders or the neck. So even though we are curling in this stretch, I could technically try it without grabbing. So I'm still initiating from that exhale, and I can really just do it without my hands. But I want that extra stretch, so I am going to use my hands. Just a few more seconds. And we'll do it on the other side. So again, this time we can curl. Start on a big inhale. Exhale all of your air out. And think of yourself as a swirly seashell. Just trying to come into yourself here. Think of putting the crown of your head right above your kneecap. Gently pulling those toes towards you. And gently pigeon-toeing that foot, so rotating inward with the leg. All right, this is the final stretch, as it were. So just stick with it a few more seconds. Just keep breathing. Give yourself a big thank you for doing something really great for your body. And keep those abs engaged. You can remind yourself to keep that curl happening. You can experiment with taking your hands away. And go ahead and come up. Thank you so much for watching. That was our leg flexibility video. If you want to follow up or advance these moves, there will be a splits tutorial, so you can take everything you learned today, everything you practice, and you can work towards that goal. In the meantime, please leave me some feedback. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Favorite this video and just keep coming back and practicing. I promise you'll see results. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.